Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwan, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut to giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach Malak Bashai. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malak Bashai. A hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Akwath out there, the sincere sisters out there holding it down in the households, reverent to their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous forefather. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to the ancient men, the children, everybody tuning in live. Nehum Yasha'Allah from Egypt to Israel. Don Israel, Divash Branch, Angelo, Israel, Richard Perez, Malcolm Kufi, Sweet Styles, HBK Int, Nigel Blends, Quadon, and everybody else tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. The topic of this cold cut is the harsh truth about Armageddon and the lake of fire explained. Right? The harsh truth about Armageddon. Armageddon is a word found in the Bible of a climactic scene that deals with it's like at the time of World War III. All right, now people always talk about Armageddon. They make documentaries about it. You have Edomites on the History Channel trying to figure out what Armageddon is talking about. You have pastors and preachers. They'll throw that word Armageddon in there, but it's a few people on the earth that truly understand what Armageddon truly entails, where it's going to be at, who's going to be the belligerents when that goes down, why is it happening, right? And what is going to come forth of Armageddon, right? Post Armageddon. So we're going to discuss Armageddon and the harsh truth about it and what's going to befall the children of men when that event actually takes place. Now, Armageddon is found in the book of Revelation, the 16th chapter, right? Let's go to the book of Salakia. Let's go to the book of Revelation, right? Chapter 16. And I'm going to get straight to the point. This is Revelation chapter 16, right? In verse 16. Salakia reads, and he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Right? Now, Armageddon means that the mountain of soldiers or the mountain of troops. That's what the word means. Now, I believe they'll tell you that it goes back to the Hebrew word Armageddon, right? Which means the mountain of troops or mountain of soldiers. Now, here's the word Armageddon. Right? It says the hill or a city. Actually, let's play it out loud so we can get some understanding about what this means. Right now, it says Armageddon, the city, it's like the hill or the city of Megiddo. Right now, Megiddo is an actual place. Right, and we're going to read about that. They actually explain that in this definition, if I'm not mistaken. In Revelation 16 and 16, the scene of the struggle of good and evil is suggested by that plain of Esdraelon, which was famous for two great victories, of Barak over the Canaanites and of Gideon over the Midianites, and for two great disasters, the deaths of Saul and Josiah. Hence, in Revelation, a place of great slaughter, the scene of a terrible retribution upon the wicked. The RSV translates the name as Har-Mageddon, right? The hill of Megiddo. You see that? So they actually went thorough with a pretty decent definition, right? Now, this is an actual place on the earth, right? And this is going to be the climax of World War III, right? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 9, right? Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. It reads, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. So ancient battles were about what? warriors rode in blood because people fought with battle axes, swords, knives. War was up close and personal in the ancient times. You couldn't just press a button from an office, man. Why you damn ate a Sunday and sent 1,000 drones to bomb hospitals and bomb elementary schools, man, right? And nuclear power plants. Back then, you had to actually know how to fight and use a sword, you know? And you had garments rolled in blood. You might have chopped the guy's head off. Blood might be sprinkled on you. It might be war elephants in the background, war drums beating, right? Trumpets are blowing. So it was a big deal, a pretty chaotic scene for every battle. And these battles include from the time of the battle of the four kings against the five that you read about in Genesis chapter 14, all the way up and to the time of World War III. Because even World War I was up close and personal to a certain extent. It would run up in trench fare. They use bayonets and hand-to-hand combat, you know. But this war is going to be with burning and fuel of fire, right? So this means that technology is going to increase to have burning and fuel of fire play a major role in this upcoming war, right? And there will be a World War III. There won't be. I don't care if they're saying, okay, well, Putin and Biden have sat down and they've talked. Sometimes you see these guys, man. You'll see these pictures of Biden and Putin. Let's just see what I can get. Sitting down together, man. And you say, well, hold on now. There's nothing really going to happen. They keep talking about World War III, but I keep seeing these guys just sitting down talking, right? Well, that's how it starts, man. And World War III is inevitable. Everybody's picking a side right now. You have the BRICS alliance being put together. You have NATO, looking to do their own thing. You have America. Just because nothing is happening right now, and you go to and fro through work, and you could drive and go to the grocery store and get milk and eggs and bread and cheese and whatever, man. Just because you could go to the bank and you could do these things doesn't mean that World War III is just put on the back burner forever. It's only a matter of time. The Lord told you this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. He told you he's going to gather them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. And that will be one of the most major scenes in the history of war, right? Let's go to Joel, the 3rd chapter, right? This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. It reads, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. So when you proclaim something, you shout it forth. Pro goes back to the Latin meaning to do something forward or go forward, and claim goes back to the Latin clamere, which means to shout. So the word proclaim literally means to shout something, like a messenger or a herald that would go through the city and shout that war was coming, right? That's why it says proclaim, Salakia, ye this among the Gentiles, meaning the so-called white man, the Moabite man, right? The Hamites. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Now, who's telling them to get ready for war? There's an actual spirit. There's not an actual man saying, hey, Russia, get ready for war. Hey, India, get ready for war. No, there's a spirit that the Most High is putting on the earth, stirring up the minds of these world leaders to increase the amount of missiles that they're holding, to increase the amount of nuclear bunkers that they're going to make, to prepare and train their soldiers for war and to find these fallout shelters. Everybody's talking about World War III. It's always trending. It's always a movie discussion. It's always on somebody's mind, rather a politician or historian, that World War III always seems to come up. Even if they bury it and they talk about sports, or they'll talk about Biden, and then they'll talk about what's happening in Iran, it seems to be the case that when it's all said and done, World War III always finds itself in somebody's mouth, man, because the Most High has put that spirit on the earth, and it's not turning back. See that in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter, right? Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. The mighty men are the generals, the lieutenants, all right, the captains, the colonels, 5-star generals who sit at those round table meetings, man. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So, what this is saying is that your agricultural day-to-day lifestyle to keep a society booming, the Most High is going to take those same men that are farmers, in today's society, your 9 to 5 guys, okay, your white collar jobs, your blue collar jobs. You may work at a steel mill, you may work at a law firm, anything that you do to keep the society flourishing. The Most High said, instead of holding a keyboard at your cubicle, you're going to be holding a spear. Instead of you sitting up there being a farmer, plowing with a tractor, you're going to be holding a spear. And you're going to be holding a sword. Now, you may say, well, I thought nobody fought with swords anymore. I thought that was outdated. Well, you're right. Nobody fights with swords and spears. The modern day sword is your standard military rifle. Right? Now, I'm not in the military, obviously, right? But there are brothers that have had that lifestyle in time past. So this is the modern day sword. This is your sword. Back in the ancient world, they fought with swords, samurais, Teutonic knights, the Byzantine cataphracts, right? The Jacenaries of the Ottoman Empire. All of these ancient armies, the immortals of the Persian Empire, the Jews, right, of Yasha Ali. We have fought with swords, but that sword has advanced to your modern day rifle, M16, M4 assault rifles, right? This is the modern day sword. So the Most High is telling you that war is coming. Now, a pruning hook, for brothers that don't know what a pruning hook is, here's a pruning hook. See that? It's used for farming, right? It's used for farming, to cutting off twigs and, getting your plants right. See that? So he's using the pruning hook. But the Most High say he's going to change things around. He's going to shift that environment to where what? People are going to be holding swords now. And that's why you have something called a military conscription or a draft, right? And a draft, there's talk of a draft coming to America. You got a lot of people that don't want to fight in the military anymore, right? People, they have so-called morals now. They're finding out that America is going into other countries for war, strictly for gold, oil, little children, drugs, they're finding out that America's intentions in war are not pure. So a lot of people, even these Edomites, they don't want to go to war anymore. How many people you see talking about, I want to be a soldier in the American army? This isn't the 1930s anymore, man. When you had this massive amount of willpower to fight on behalf of America and to die for the flag. Those aren't these days anymore, man. Everybody's on meth, right? People are watching conspiracy movies. Nobody really has that zeal to want to fight for America. So they may have this military draft, right? Let's see. And they call it a let's see. I believe they also call it a conscription, a military conscription. So if you're not under the protection of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, guess what? You're going to be caught out there. And you're going to be drafted. And I believe you got to be over 18, right? And there are certain things that you got to kind of qualifications and prerequisites you got to meet. But guess what, man? The Most High said, let the weak say I am strong. So these guys that, sit in front of video games all day and they're on Twitch, I think that's what it's called, and TikTok and doing all these dances, and you're going to look, life going to change real quick for you, man. Life is going to change for you, these TikTokers and these podcast men and these guys who, who've never fought. A military draft. And if you're not under the shadow of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, you might get drafted. And you're going to be caught out there. You're going to be on a one-way ticket to Syria somewhere. Trying to figure out who's shooting you, man. Let's read on. Getting your ear blown off. Let's see. The selective service system, otherwise known as the military draft, or conscription, requires almost all male U.S. citizens and immigrants ages 18 through 25 to register with the government. Right? You see that? So you gotta be part of this thing, man. So you might get drafted in this thing. Military draft 2023, right? Will there be a military draft in 2023? Probably not. Right? Well, it may be in 2024. Now things could pick up, right? They didn't say will there ever be a military draft. They said no. They said, well, maybe not. The way things are looking now, it's not looking like it's going to be a draft. But, hey, 2024, things may change. Right? Now, God forbid we're still here in 2024, but we still got a lot more prophecy that we got to deal with. All right, will there be a military draft in 2023? Probably not. While world events such as the war in Ukraine and an increasing U.S. presence in Poland continue to evolve, there has been no indication that a military draft will take place in 2023. All right, so they're telling you that there's no way it's going to happen, but it's happened before. And people are going to be fighting in Armageddon. There are going to be some Israelites fighting and not in the truth, right? If you're in the truth, you'll be all right. You're fine, right? But if you're not, again, you're going to be caught out there. This is what Joel chapter 3 is talking about. So check this out. See that? They said a lot. Hold on. They said a lot of women are going to get drafted, right? A lot of women are going to get drafted. So all these rapping women, these twerking women, these women that don't need a man, right? Or the brother said there's no sound. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can go back. So there's no sound. Hold on. Let me see if I can go back and share that. Right. Let me try again. Bear with me. Right. Salakia. All right, let me go back. Right. Let me go back and see if this is showing. All right. Let me know if there's sound.
Over the past century and a half, the United States government has occasionally relied upon a national draft to fill its military ranks. And while the U.S. military transitioned to an all-volunteer force in the mid-1970s, conscription laws still remain in place. Today, these draft laws may soon undergo a major reform to include women for the first time.
They said a lot of women are going to get drafted. Right? I mean, just straight up and down, man. It's going to be bad. Once Armageddon, and again, Armageddon is the final battle between Yahweh Shai and the armies of the earth. That's what it is, right? It's the final battle of World War III, because a war consists of many battles. Remember, and they had the storming of Normandy in World War II, the Battle of Stalingrad in World War II, and Revolutionary War, they had the Battle of Breeds Hill or Bunkers Hill, the Lexington and Concord, right? There are many significant battles, and there are even battles that decide the war, right? When the West stormed Normandy in World War II, that was a key battle that turned the tides of the war, right? So Armageddon is going to turn the tide of the war, right? And it's going to be, these nations are going to be overthrown by Yahweh Shai. So you sisters that's in the world, you're going to be caught out there. Trying to figure out how to fly a jet somewhere.
America's first national draft occurred during the Civil War, when both the North and South relied upon conscription to fill their ranks. However, unfair practices that favored the wealthy, like a draftee's option to pay a substitute to fight in his place, made the draft highly unpopular. World War I led to the creation of the Selective Service Act of 1917. This act did away with the clauses that favored the rich and resulted in approximately 2.8 million Americans being drafted for the war. In the fall of 1940, America enacted its first ever peacetime draft as a means of preparing the nation for the possibility of World War II.
It is a program of defensive preparation.
Males ages...
And it's going to happen all over again. Right? It's going to happen all over again, man.
21 through 36 were required to register. Those drafted served 12 months. After America entered the war, this age range was expanded and the service time was lengthened to 6 months beyond the end of hostilities. In total, more than 10 million men were drafted during World War II.
10 million men were drafted in World War II. 10 million men.
The outbreak of the Korean War prompted the next major surge in that.
And this is why the Most High said this. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Right? So this is really going into the Most High telling these nations to get ready for war. And it's also going into these nations building up their armies. And the main way you build up an army is through a draft or through a conscription. Right? So there has to be people that the Lord has to kill when he returns. So he has to have these nations build up an army just to be destroyed, man. Right? Like the Lord told him in Romans 9, even for this same purpose, have I raised thee up, right? Let me get that. That I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Right? This Romans chapter 9 and verse 17. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. So the Lord is raising up America, but this also applies to these other nations. He's raising up all of these soldiers, having them build all of these missiles, build up tanks and all these vehicles, just so he could destroy them and show his power in them, and that his name might be declared throughout all the earth, man. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation. Right? Chapter 11. It's like Revelation chapter 16 again. Right? Dealing with Armageddon. Revelation chapter 16 and 16. And he gathered them together to a place called in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. Now, if you look up, it's like, let me see if I can close out of this. Oh boy, what did I do? Okay, Salakia. If you look up map of Israel and you type in, let's see, Megiddo. All right, let's pull this up. So here's Megiddo on the map. Right? Megiddo is the root of the word Armageddon. Megiddo is an actual place in the land of Israel where you had significant battles that transpired. Right? You had, in the time of Judges, you had a massive battle. You had King Josiah, right, who died in the plains of Megiddo. So again, Megiddo has been used as a reference point of significant war, slaughter, and destruction when it comes to battles between the children of men. Right? And I actually want to get a precept on that. Let's go to the book of I want this in Second Chronicles. Actually, let's get 2 Kings 23. Right? Salakia. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 23 and 30. Right, to prove that. 2 Kings chapter 23 and 30. It reads, and his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo and brought him to Jerusalem and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's stead. So King Josiah died in the battle of Megiddo, right? And some would call Pharaoh Necho, who was in the battle of Carchemish with the Babylonians. Josiah came against him and he died in Megiddo. So Megiddo is an actual place, right? It's an actual place in the land of Israel. And that battle of Armageddon is going to take place in that same region. See, they say place of crowds, right? It's really troops or soldiers, right? Place of troops or soldiers. Ancient city of Canaan, assigned to Manasseh and located on the southern rim of the plain of Esdraelon, 6 miles from Mount Carmel and 11 miles from Nazareth. You see that? So this is the actual place that is the reference point of Revelation chapter 16 and 16. So let's go back to Joel, the 3rd chapter. Right? Let's go back to Joel chapter 3. Right? Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Right? Joel chapter 3 and 9. And again, if you're in this truth, right, and you are in faith through your works, and the Most High has mercy, you don't have to worry about the draft. Right? You don't have to worry about going to war and fighting against the Israeli army, right? And fighting against the Iranians, man. We'll be under the shadow and the grace of the Most High. Remember in Job, real quick, it says, in war, he shall deliver you from the power of the sword. Right? This is Job, the 5th chapter. Job chapter 5 and verse 20. I'll start at 19. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. So despite the war and the famine and all hell going to that's going to break loose on the earth, the Most High is going to deliver you in every single trouble. That's what it means, 6. Then it says, yea, and 7, meaning complete amount of times of adversity, the Most High is going to be there for you. In famine, he shall redeem thee from death. So when there's no food, when there's damn looting and rioting and the economy collapse, and it seems as though you don't have nothing to eat for your household, the Most High is going to bring that food for you, right? And in war, from the power of the sword, right? So when World War III kicks off, you will be redeemed and delivered from the power of the sword. But again, if you're not in this truth, you're going to be caught out there, man. Right? You're going to be caught out there. Let's go back to Joel chapter 3 and verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. So the Lord is telling all of these nations, he's going to put them in a central battlefield. See, war is kicking off in Ukraine to a certain extent. But there is one hot spot where war is going to be kicking off on a massive level. Why do you think there's always so much conflict in the Middle East? Right? Between the so-called Israelis, the Palestinians, the people of Jordan and Yemen and Iran. This region is what they call the so-called Middle East. Let's see if I get a better map. You see that? And when you see Syria and Israel and Lebanon, this region is the region of Armageddon. Right? It's not just going to be in the actual city of Megiddo. It's really going into this region, right? Because when Yahweh Shah returns, he's going to come into the valley of Jehoshaphat. And all of the nations are going to be here fighting. Right? Now you can say, well, I thought they were fighting in Russia. Well, they are. But in process of time, these armies are going to find their way into this exact same area right here. Rather you're the Americans, or rather you're the Iranians, or the Russians, or the French, they're all going to have their armies in this region right here. That's why the Lord also calls this the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Right? Valley of Jehoshaphat is the Valley of Yahweh's judgment. That's what it means. Jehoshaphat means, or the Joe, or J-E-O, right, is Yah or Yahweh. And Shaphat is really Shapat, which means judgment or decision. So the Valley of Jehoshaphat really means the Valley of Yahweh's judgment or Yahweh's decision. All right, let's read that. Joel chapter 3 and 12. let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Right? Yeah, it's Yashaphat, which is Yahweh's judgment. That's why it says, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So he's going to gather all of those armies into that region. And his judgment is going to be with fire and brimstone. Right? It reads, put ye in a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. So all of the battles that are kicking off now, you see this tension between China and Taiwan. Is China going to invade? Or, the tension between North Korea launching missiles over Japan. Are they going to hit Japan? And all of this tension that you see between America and Iran and Russia and America, and it's all going to lead up to the Valley of Jehoshaphat. This will be the main spot on the earth of war in that region. And Armageddon is the name of the final battle that's going to be in that region. Right? Okay, the brother kind of just sold me something. Salakia. Let me get out of this. Right, the water for that. Hold on, bear with me. So I thought I was showing the scriptures. Okay, let me get back to this. All right. See that? Okay, Joel chapter 3 and 12. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Let me make sure this is showing. Okay. All right, all praises. All right. Salakia. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Right? Multitudes. And you're going to have millions of them, man. Millions of men that are going to be there. Where are they going to be? In a valley of decision. For the day of the Lord is near, in a valley of decision. And why is it called the decision? Another word for a decision is a judgment. That's all the judgment is. When you execute judgment, you decide on what is going to happen to an individual or how a situation is going to be handled. So another word for the valley of Jehoshaphat is the valley of decision, because the Most High is going to make that final decision on who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. Right? Who's going to be glorified, who's not going to be glorified. Who's going to be exalted, who's not going to be exalted. Right? And you're going to have little battles taken off. I can tell you in 2nd Ezra. Before Armageddon, you're going to have minor battles that are going to be kicking off to a certain extent. But it's all going to be the climax of Armageddon. Right? The 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse. Let's start at, well, this whole chapter is good. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and 29, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. And we go into this all the time. The dragons of Arabia is what? Your Arab League, your Peninsula Shield Force, right? Though your Gulf Corporation Council, that is your dragons of Arabia. Right now, there are military alliances being formed with every nation on the earth. And all of the Arabs still linking up. The Most High calls them the dragons of Arabia. Right? And we pull this up all the time, and we'll pull it up again. The main thing of the dragons of Arabia, it's like I'm trying to figure this thing out, is your Peninsula Shield Force. They will be in Armageddon. Right? We're just telling you straight up. All right, Salakia. They will be in Armageddon. So now we're actually telling you who's going to be there. Your Peninsula Shield Force, they will be there. They are the military arm of the GCC. And you have to know these things to a certain extent, right? Because Armageddon is not just a bunch of guys just trying to figure out how they're going to fight against the Lord. You're going to have it's modern day military armies that are going to be there, modern day military alliances that are going to be there, right? And one of the main alliances on the earth is what? It's not just NATO, and it's not just BRICS. You also have, again, your Peninsula Shield Force, right? And they're going to have all of these troops driving to that so-called Middle East region, and they're going to be fighting amongst one another, right? So the Peninsula Shield Force is the military arm of the Gulf Cooperation Council. It is intended to deter and respond to military aggression against any of the GCC member countries: Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. So that's your leading force of the Dragons of Arabia. All right. Your leading force of the Dragons of Arabia. So you look at this map of the Middle East, they're going to have what you call a home field advantage. They call that home field advantage because that's where they live at already, man. Right? Saudi Arabia, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, the majority of these countries are part of the Gulf Cooperation Council. All right? And they're going to be there. Who else is going to be there? NATO. Right? NATO is also going to be there. Let's get NATO in the Bible. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter. Right? Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16. Actually, we'll start at 14. Let's see. It's like at 112. Revelation 17 and 12. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So these 10 horns is really going into the 10 common markets. The European Economic Committee, now known as what? The European Union. The military arm of the European Union is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, right? Which is a military faction of Western European countries, as well as America and Canada, right? But they're called the 10 horns or the 10 kings. You understand? And they have one mind, meaning they have the same agenda. They have something called Article 5, where they have one mind that says, if you attack me, we're going to attack your enemy. If you attack Canada, America has to go to war. If France is attacked, then England has to go to war. If Germany is attacked, then Spain has to go to war. They have one mind. And they're going to give their power and strength unto the beast. That's why in war, there's something called a belligerent, which we brought up before. Let's see if we can get that. Right? Belligerent. This is war, right? It reads, belligerent, a nation or person engaged in war or conflict as recognized by international law. So in war, you have belligerents. In World War II, you had the Allies, right? You had France, England, America, Russia, and then you had the Axis powers, right? You had Italy, right? You had Germany, right? I believe you had Japan, right? You had your so-called Axis powers. Now, those two people, those are your belligerents, right? Who are the two parties involved in war? When World War III kicks off, you're going to have many belligerents, many nations, many military alliances, all fighting amongst one another, right? And we've covered your Peninsula Shield Force. I'm really going into not really a political alliance. There's a lot of political alliances. I'm really going into the military alliance, the military arm, all right? So you have NATO, the Peninsula Shield Force, another military arm, right, that's going to be on the earth. So, Lucky, let's get this. Get this one. Another military arm that's going to be on the earth is your CSTO. There's a difference between a military alliance and a political alliance. A political alliance is strictly about money, about government, about rules and regulations of trade and finance. Your military alliance is the armies is going to come together and act on behalf of that political alliance. So your CSTO, right? Your CSTO is an intergovernmental military alliance in Eurasia, consisting of 6 post-Soviet states: Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Tajikistan. The Collective Security Treaty has its origins in the Soviet Armed Forces, which was replaced in 1992 by the United Army Forces of the Commonwealth of Independent States, right? So guess what? They have their own deal, and they're like NATO. They're like NATO in the East, right? This was literally formed to revive what you call the so-called Soviet Union. Now look at what they have. Look at one of their treaties. Similar to Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty and the Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance, Article 4 of the Collective Security Treaty establishes that an aggression against one signatory would be perceived as an aggression against all. So they have the same thing as Article 5. What does that mean? If you attack Armenia, then Russia's going to go to war with you. If you attack Belarus, Kazakhstan's going to go to war with you, right? If you attack Russia, Armenia is going to go to war with you. So that they have these Article 4 and Article 5s to help get everybody active in World War III, right? To get everybody involved, right? That's what the Most High created it, to get all these nations set up for war. Let's go to the book of let's read about the CSTO. These are the different people that are going to be in that Middle East, right? Salakia. Right, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 38. Ezekiel, and let's read about the CSTO. Ezekiel chapter 38 and verse 1. Right? Because you can, again, you're not going to see the word NATO in the Bible. You're not going to see Peninsula Shield Force. The Most High gives these biblical names to it. So you have the dragons of Arabia, the 10 horns, Gog and Magog, right? You have these names that the Most High created because the Bible is written in code. It's not for everybody to understand, right? It reads, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, right? Salaki, bear with me. The chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against it, right? And say, thus saith the Lord, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Right now, this is really, Gog is really going into Russia, right? Your so-called Russians. Now, when you read about the Table of Nations in Genesis chapter 10, you read about Tubal, Gog as being the sons of Japheth, right? But nevertheless, Esau took that land and stole it. And by default, he became those people. So this is really going into the Edomites. Even though it says Gog and Meshach and Tubal, and those are names reminiscent of the sons of Japheth the elder, it's still speaking about who? The Edomites who live in that land. The Most High said, I will turn thee back. Like, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. So the Most High is bringing an army forth, man. Just link up with Joel chapter 3. When it says he's going to put a hook in your jaws, it means that he's going to make them go to war. They're not going to have a say-so in the matter. They're not going to say, well, look, I don't think it's the best time for us. Our army isn't where we want it to be. We're not trained up enough. Our citizens aren't prepared. It don't matter. The Most High is going to take that hook and drag them to the so-called Middle East and pull them into that region. And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen. Now, do people fight with horses now? No. So what are your modern day horses that are going to be used in Armageddon? And what are the horsemen? Well, we just showed the picture, right? This is your modern day horse. Let's see if I can pull this up. Right. Again, I'm trying to find the name of it. Let's see, maybe this is your modern day horse. Right? That people ride. It's a little bit where's the other ones? It's not an actual Jeep. Let's see. Like I said, I don't know the technical name. All right, this is a little bit more military-esque. See that? So this is your modern day horse. Because remember, in the ancient world, men would ride this into battle on a horse. Right? Remember, war has done nothing but advanced in technology. That's all that's happened. If you look up a man, let's see, a knight, right, on a horse, right? And then we do a kind of a comparison. Let's see, knight on a horse. So the horse was the transportation, and him being on top of it with his weapon. Usually, of course, he would have a sword in his hand. It's the exact same thing as a man right now with a damn turret gun on the top of his truck. So this is the horse, and he's the horseman, right? He's the horse, or it's like he's the horseman, and that's the horse. And everybody has these vehicles. Again, do I know the exact name of the vehicle? No, right? It says high mobility, multi-purpose wheel vehicle, HMMWV, right? These are your modern day horses, and the men that operate them are the horsemen. So the Most High says that they have horses and horsemen. He's going to bring their military vehicles down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Even in the book of Joel, we read about two weapons. We read about, let's see, let's go back to this. Joel 3:10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. We went into the sword. The sword is the modern day rifle. The spear is your modern day handheld missile, right? So that's what your spear is. They put it on their shoulder like a rocket or a rocket propelled grenade. That is your modern day spear. Let's pull that up. So that's your sword. Let's see your spear. All right, let's see your modern day spear. See that? And it looks like a spear, right? It literally looks like a spear that they would take with their hand and launch it. So we have to go into these words and say, well, why is the Most High saying horsemen and horses and spears and nobody fights with that? Well, you have to have the ancient mind to look at the weapons of warfare and link it up with the modern day warfare that they're going to use. All right, so that's it. That's your modern day spear. Look at that. It looks exactly like an ancient spear. Now you can say, well, look, I don't see that. I don't believe it. Well, let's pull up a spear. Right? See that? So they would fight with a spear. And then you have this guy. This is a spear. And a spear is something that you can launch and it goes vertical. And it can kind of go through a great length. See that? And some of these missiles, see, they call it a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. You see that? So the spearhead is really the grenade. So it's like a detachable arrowhead. See, in the ancient world, they would toss the entire spear, and the point of impact came from the spearhead. This modern day spear, the spearhead can launch off, right? You can aim, it can launch off. Some of these things can follow you, you know? So the Most High is actually giving you the weaponry that he used. Remember, the Most High said he's going to open up his armory, right? He's going to open up his armory in Jeremiah chapter 50. All right, this is Jeremiah chapter 50. I believe that's 25. Come. The Lord hath opened his armory and hath brought forth the weapons of his indignation. For this is the work of the Lord God of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. So these are the Most High's weapons. He's the one, they're talking about that movie Oppenheimer, right? Okay, he made the bomb, and he was a great scientist, and he dealt with hard work, and he had a great work ethic, and he stayed up all night to make sure. And guess what, man? The Most High creates every weapon that you see. Any weapon, from a heat ray to a laser to a grenade to a gun, the Most High has created these things. One of the key traits of Yahweh is that he is a man of war. And he's going to create weapons, man. So guess what? His modern day weapons have advanced. And he has opened his armory and has given this understanding unto men to create these weapons. Like the Lord said in Isaiah chapter 54, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the furnace. Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy. So the Lord created the smith. What is a smith? A blacksmith. What does the blacksmith make? They make weapons. They make swords, daggers, and knives, axes. You understand? And who created this weapon maker? The Lord created the weapon maker. He gave them the mind to be able to invent weapons of death and to bring forth an instrument for his work. Another name for that instrument is called the instruments of death in the book of Psalms chapter 7. This instrument is not talking about a clarinet, a didgeridoo, or a harmonica. This instrument is called the instruments of death. It's also called the waster. And that waster is speaking about your nuclear missile, right? ICBM. You see that? This is the waster, right? This is the waster that the Lord created. Where would it be? This is the waster that he created to destroy. Hold on, bear with me. I want to pull this up. I actually want to pull up this waster. Right? Let's pull up this waster. See, this is a little bit different. I have to kind of adjust. So bear with me. Bear with me. Audio. All right.
It's Dana from StreamYard.
So this is ICBM size comparison. And this is the waster that's going to be used in Armageddon. So we're going over the armies that are going to be there. We covered the Peninsula Shield Force. Those are your so-called Arabs. We covered the CSTO. We're going through that now. That's Gog and Magog and all of his army, his horsemen. We cover what the horsemen are. We cover what the horses are. We went into spears, swords, just the weaponry and the geography and the armies that are going to be there prior to the Lord. Now we're going into the waster. That was like a Christian and that missile. 35 missile. Yeah, they actually are different nations. And the Most High, again, he has given these scientists understanding on the left-hand side, right? He has given them understanding to know how to build these weapons that nobody else can make. How could somebody create a weapon of mass destruction? The Lord had to tap into their mind to show them how to engineer this and have physicists and all types of scientists to be able to come up with a weapon that could launch in the air, right? And have damn GPS tracking to go hundreds of miles away at a projected speed and then hit the set target and explode upon impact and wipe out millions of people. The Lord did this, man. He created these modern day Smiths. That's a 42-foot missile. That's a big missile right there, man. 42 feet, right? And that's the Moabites. The Moabites got the DF-31, a 42-foot missile. See that? See, that's Babylon. Babylon, they on the scene with the Trident too. 44 foot. We kind of fast forward. So they got a missile. I don't know what, I think that's France. They have a missile called the Sickle. You see that? That's spiritual. That's a 71-foot missile. That's almost the size of a whole basketball court, right? 71-foot missile called the Sickle. The Lord said, put your in a sickle, right? For the harvest is right, paraphrasing. Spiritual right there. Even a lot of these names of these wasters. See, the Most High called it the waster, but they have actual names that these Smiths have given them, you know? And back in the day, even when people made swords, people would name their sword, you know? Even when you read about King Arthur, I believe he had a sword. I can't remember the name of his sword, but he had a sword, right? Different warriors, they would name their battle axe or they would name their sword. So now that same spirit is on the earth where people create these modern day missiles and they actually give a name to the missile that they had. And again, one of them is called the Sickle. You can't get around it. Well, that's a coincidence. I don't think. Well, there's no coincidences. Well, Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua. That's cool. Uh-oh, hold on now. Look at this missile. Satan. Right? Oh, that's Russia. Satan, man. Satan got, hold on. I think Russia had that missile called the Sickle. I thought it was France, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go back. Oh, that's Russia. So Russia got a missile called the Sickle, and Russia got a missile called Satan. Right? They have a missile called Satan. They got the Satan 1 and the Satan 2. Let's pull up the Satan 2. Right? So you can't, I'm almost at a loss for words, man. Right? Because a lot of Jake say, well, that's just a coincidence. That's the RS-28 Sarmat, named after the Sarmatians. All right. Let's see. Hold on. Let me go down. Is a Russia liquid-fueled MIRV equipped super heavy, a heavy ICBM produced by the Mekyev Rocket Design Bureau, right? So that's the Satan 2 that they're going to use. And they say that the Satan 2 could destroy a landmass the size of Texas. All right. It can destroy a landmass the size of Texas. That is the waster that has been created to destroy it. All right. Let's go back to this video. So, like, I know I probably wasn't able to see show the screen with the precepts, but nevertheless, let's finish this. China got a 106-foot missile. They got the Satan 2. And I'm trying to see what country this is, but they look like they got the largest missile, man. I don't know if that's Iran. So that the largest missile is 131 feet. 131 feet. And these are the different weapons that will be used in World War III, man. Right? They will be used. Let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 5 and 1. Right? 2nd Ezra, chapter 5 and verse 1. Right? It reads, Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number. And it means taken, meaning killed. Many people are going to die, right? In massive amounts, frequently. 20,000 this day, 10,000 over here, 50 million over here, right? They should be taken in great number. It reads, let me pull this back up. Slaki, bear with me 1 second. Okay, Salakia. All right, so let's go back to this. Right, let me take this off. Right, let me pull this back up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Right, let's pull this back up into the screen. All right, going back, 2nd Ezra chapter 5 and 1. Nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon earth shall be taken in a great number. And really, that great number is going to be the effect of a combination of mainly three things. The three main ways people are going to die prior to Armageddon is the famine, World War III, you understand? Or really the famine and the missiles. Those are the main two ways. And ultimately, when Yahushua returns, that's the third way. Those are going to be the three main ways of death on earth: famine, war, and the destruction of Yahushua. And many people are going to be dying in massive amounts, man. And the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. And the land that thou seest now to have root, shalt thou see wasted suddenly. Right? So the land that you see now is going to be wasted, man. All of the skyscrapers, all of the buildings, all of the monuments, all of the relics, right? All of the statues, all of those things that you see will be wasted suddenly, thus said the Lord, man. And it's in the Holy Bible. Now, there was a video, which I'm about to show right now, right? I'm not going to be able to pull it up on the screen. But I'm gonna pull it up like this. Now check this out.
One side launches nuclear missiles.
Now this video says if the U.S. and Russia went to war, and it kind of went into a breakdown of what would happen. So I'm gonna show it like this.
The other side detects them and fires back before impact. U.S. submarine-launched ballistic missiles from west of Norway start striking Russia after about 10 minutes. And Russian ones from north of Canada start hitting the U.S. a few minutes later. The very first strikes are high-altitude EMP attacks, frying electronics and power grids by creating an electromagnetic pulse of tens of thousands of volts per meter. The next strikes target command and control, as well as nuclear launch facilities. Land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles take about half an hour to arrive. Each impact creates a fireball about as hot as the core of the sun, followed by a radioactive mushroom cloud. These intense explosions vaporize people nearby and cause fires and blindness further away. The fireball expansion then causes a blast wave that damages buildings, crushing nearby ones. The United Kingdom and France have nuclear capabilities and are obliged by NATO's Article 5 to defend the US. So, Russia hits them too. Firestorms engulf many cities. The Hiroshima atomic bomb caused such a firestorm, but today's hydrogen bombs are much more powerful. A large city like Moscow, with almost 50 times more people, can create much more smoke. When one side launches nuclear missiles.
So they kind of went into it, man. Right? They kind of went into it and showed it kind of showed you what could actually happen. EMP attacks. When you have an EMP attack, you wipe out that power grid. Right? When you wipe out that power grid, people are going to lose their minds, man. No signals, cars won't run, electricity is shot, and people are going to go back into those ancient primitive ways, man. Right? And that do-it thou wilt spirit. So the land is going to be wasted suddenly once these missiles begin to hit the earth, right? And they're going to be shot forth to the end of the earth. Now, tying that back into Armageddon, all of those nations, by the time that World War III is reaching its climax, they're all going to be here. They're going to be in this region. America's going to be here, right? And they're going to be on behalf of NATO. NATO's going to be here. Right, the Peninsula Shield Force, CSTO, right? The Kings of the East, they will all be here. So let's go back to Ezekiel chapter 38 and 4. All right, Ezekiel chapter 38 and 4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen. We covered the horses and the horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. The modern day armor that they wear is that military equipment, right? The Kevlar and the modern day, jackets that they wear and the armor-proof or bulletproof weaponry, right? Even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. So Persia is your modern day Iran, because Iran and Russia are like this. Right? They're part of BRICS alliance. Ethiopia, them and Russia are like this. Libya and Russia, they're like this. They're tight, man. So the Most High is even giving you the different countries that are going to link up with Gog and Magog as they make their way into the valley of Jehoshaphat. And they're going to be fighting. There's no timeline or how long they're going to be fighting. Right? But you do know that these other nations will be fighting amongst each other. Right, let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. Because the Lord said they're going to leave the battle that they had amongst each other. All right, let's get that in 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, and verse 33. 2nd Ezra, chapter 13 and 33. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. So immediately prior to Yahushua returning, everybody's going to be in the Middle East fighting amongst each other. You're going to have the paratroopers. You're going to have the military tanks. You're going to have the swords, the helmets, the horsemen. It's going to be a bloodbath. And many men are going to die. Now, Armageddon really is when Yahushua returns. And once Yahushua returns, he is the one that's going to decide through the will of Yahweh who's going to die first and who's going to be destroyed. That's what Second Ezra, the 13th chapter, goes into. It really goes into the final battle of Armageddon, because we kind of cover what the nations have. In Armageddon, the nations, they have tanks, right? They have your modern day tank is a chariot, right? That's your modern day tank. Let's get that in Isaiah. Go to Isaiah chapter 21, right? Isaiah chapter 21 and verse 6. For thus hath the Lord said unto me, Go, set a watchman, let him declare what he seeth. And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen, a chariot of asses, and the chariot of camels, and he hearkened diligently with much heed. So this is a future prophecy of him seeing America about to be destroyed. But again, he has these Isaiah's using these old terms, but we have to have a mind to see what technology today can directly relate to what Isaiah saw. We know what the horseman is. We know what the horses are. Now, what is that chariot? Now you can say, "Well, I thought that was talking about the UFOs." Or no, this chariot right here is speaking about a military chariot, right? Let's see, military chariot, and the military chariot is your modern day tank. It was a heavy land vehicle where you had multiple men that was on it, and they could launch arrows or throw spears at you, and it would move fast, right? So it was a little bit more heavy set. That's the chariot. See that? Look like a tank. See that? It looks just like a tank. Now, this is from way back when. You know, and these guys got weapons in there. So Isaiah actually saw battle tanks, and he saw military weapons being used to destroy the so-called white man. You know? So that's what Ezekiel is talking about, right? It's like your Isaiah is talking about when he saw these tanks. So they have tanks, they have the Humvee vehicles and the horsemen. We covered their swords, their spears, right? We've covered just the chariots. Trying to think of all of the technology that these nations have in the ancient world. They also had walls, right? Remember back in the ancient world, when these nations went to war, they had walls, right? 2 Samuel chapter 20 and 15, and they came and besieged them in Abel of Beth Maacah, and they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench, and the people that were with Joab battered down a wall to throw it down. So every city back then had walls. Jericho had walls. Jerusalem had mighty walls, right? Babylon had walls, and your walls was your defense. The modern day defense is what? Not a wall, but it's really a anti-missile defense system that these other nations have, right? They have anti-missile defense system. That's your modern day wall, right? Your modern day wall is your nation's missile defense system. All right, every nation has one, man. The state of Israel has one. The Iron Dome. America has one, right? They call them missile interceptors too, right? So again, every nation, they're building up their walls, which is their missile defense system and their missile interceptors. Now, when Yahushua returns, he's not going to need a tank. He's not going to need a missile defense system. He's not going to need a horseman. What kind of military might is Yahushua coming with? Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 3. right? Right. So with this, we're going into the two armies that are going to fight. One army is going to be the army from the third heaven, coming with the chariots. When I say that chariot, I'm speaking about the spaceships. You're going to have this earthly army with their horsemen, their chariots, and their spears, and their arrows, and their wasters, right? Let's go to Habakkuk chapter 3 and verse 1. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth, right? And really, this is just what it says upon Shigionoth. That's just speaking about a different way of singing this song, right? Or this prayer. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known, and the wrath remember mercy. So he's asking the Most High to stir himself up, right? The Most High came from Taman, and a Holy One from Mount Paran Salah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. So you got to think about this. All of these nations are going to be in the Middle East, fighting amongst each other. And then all of a sudden, they're going to hear a trumpet for war. And they're going to see Yahweh invade with the chariots. And the whole heaven is going to cover the sky. Or the whole chariots are going to cover the heavens. And all of these armies on the earth, they're going to look up, and a lot of them are going to think it's an alien invasion. Right? That's what their perception is going to be while we're being invaded by aliens, due to the propaganda that Esau has put out and made the world believe that there are actual aliens, man. And some people are going to actually recall to their mind Independence Day and think they're going to think about Will Smith punching that alien. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, right? And they're going to try to get glory. A lot of these movies, Esau always beats the invasion. Right? He'll hack their spaceship. He'll figure out their weakness. Right? He always figures out a way, man. But guess what? You're not going to be able to figure out a way to fight against Yahweh Shah. He created you. How are you going to fight against your creator? And the Lord said they were so afraid, and yet there's fight in 2nd Ezra chapter 13. So they're going to be afraid, but the Most High is going to put the spirit in them to fight him anyway, man. Let's read on. And his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. So what kind of weapons does Yahweh Shai have? Where it says he had horns coming out of his hand. Does that mean he was actually shooting lasers out of his hand? No, this isn't a cartoon. He didn't have horns coming out of his hand like a rhinoceros horn. The Bible is written again in code, not for everybody to understand. When it says he had horns coming out of his hand, it's speaking about the lasers, right? Now, a horn represents power or strength. So what Habakkuk didn't know what the word laser meant. Because certain brothers might say, well, how come he didn't just put laser there? If he's really talking about the lasers, how come he didn't put it there? You think this man knew what a laser was, man? He lived all the way in the time of almost, 2,500 years ago, man. He had no idea what that was. So when he saw the strength of the weaponry that Yahweh Shah was using, he said, that's a horn. Because the horn represents power. All right. And hand represents strength. So he had this powerful thing emitting that he saw that was shooting out. What he saw, says there was the hiding of his power. Meaning that's where his power was coming from. When he saw Yahweh Shah destroying everything, he tried to see where the destruction was coming from. And he kind of focused in on the chariot, and he saw the cavity of the chariot where the lasers were shooting out from. He said, boom, there it is. There's the hiding of his power. All right. That's what he saw. Let's pull this up real quick. Lucky. Let's see. Pull this up. See that? He said there was the hiding of his power. So he saw these chariots, and underneath the cavity of this chariot, it was lasers or concentrated fire shooting out. And these vehicles are being seen day by day now. Every other day, there's an article about new chariot sightings. It's getting so bad and ridiculous where Esau is saying that we've captured a few of these things. At first, they had one in Area 51, and they were secretive, and nobody really knew about it. And, the government had it on lockdown. Now this devil's just coming out and saying, we caught a few UFOs. Well, you can't catch a UFO, man. Let me see if I can find that article. I saw that the other day. I said, this is madness. All right, let me see if I can find that. All right. The damn Space Force. Like my spelling is off today. Right? Let's see. AP News. Whistleblower tells Congress the U.S. is considering multi-decade program that captures UFOs. Well, they're not capturing UFOs. It's just not happening, man. The angels aren't prisoners of war. They don't have POW angels. When the Lord returns, you got to get these angels out of prison. And they're down there being interrogated. And Esau got him in a one room damn with that, that double glass where you see your reflection, but there's people behind the glass drinking a cup of coffee, watch you get interrogated. And that's not happening to the angels. Right, let me pull this article up. Right, let me show the screen. Well, I think the screen is showing. All right, see that? Whistleblower tells Congress the U.S. is concealing multi-decade program that captures UFOs. Right? So that's what a whistleblower is saying, that they're doing that, man. Now, there was another article I saw where they actually came out and said, hey, look, yeah, we caught a few of them. See that? I think this was it right here. U.S. recovered non-human biologics from U.S. crash sites. And this is all propaganda. This is a lie. There is no UFO crash site. The chariots don't crash. The angels don't get DUIs, right? They don't have to, they don't have a sobriety test. The angel doesn't hydroplane. He doesn't lose traction of his wheels, man. The angel doesn't text and then look up and try to hurt and turn and crash, man. They don't run red lights. They don't get T-boned. Give me the account of a chariot driving and another chariot came and T-boned them. And that chariot came in and was spinning and crashed, man. They don't have AAA. There's no angelic mechanic up there who wears a full body suit with a toothpick in his mouth, man. So that'll be $300. So we got to stop believing the lies of the so-called white man. We recovered non-human biologics. Well, what does that even mean? And look at him up here swearing. Who's this Jake? So this is madness right here, man. And this guy looks like a liar on the far right. None of these guys believe this. This is madness. So that's Ryan Graves, executive director of the American Safe Aerospace, retired Air Force Major David Gruch, and Navy Commander David Fravor were sworn in during the House Oversight and Accountability Subcommittee hearing on UFOs on Wednesday. Right? I'm going to read this one thing. 3 military veterans testified in Congress' highly anticipated hearing on UFOs Wednesday, including a former Air Force intelligence officer who claimed the U.S. government has operated a secret, quote-unquote, multi-decade reverse engineering program of recovered vessels. He also said the U.S. had recovered non-human biologics from alleged crash sites. All right. So this is all phony, just straight up and down. Habakkuk actually saw the chariots and their power and their glory. And if you believe that stuff, then your mind is bad. You really think that the power of Yahweh is faulty and that they could crash? The Most High is not man. Let man crash, man. The chariots don't crash. Let them live, man. You know? Esau can't. If you watch these vehicles, man, these chariots, they do all types. They can split into different chariots. They can expand. They can kind of condense themselves, right? They could stop on the. They could be moving 1,000 miles per hour and just stop on the dime. Esau's vehicles can't do that. They can turn invisible. They could blind you. We've done plenty of videos on the chariots, right? They could kill you with fire. They could pick you up with the abduct you and then throw you back down on the mountain, right? So Habakkuk saw Yahweh returning during Armageddon, and he really saw. Where's the picture? These chariots right here, but they were shooting out lasers, right? Lasers and so-called lightning. That's what they were shooting out. All right. He saw that. Let's read on to Habakkuk chapter 2 or 3. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went at his feet. So Armageddon is really Yahweh invading these armies with his army. Yes, the Lord has an army. He has a specially created army to come and fight against the armies of the heathen. Where is this going to take place? In your so-called Middle East. And this region right here between Syria, Lebanon, Israel, and Jordan, primarily. This is where he's going to return and fight against the children of men. All right. Let's get Revelation chapter 19. Revelation chapter 19 and verse 13. And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed with fine linen, white and clean. So the Lord has armies, man. The true King of Kings has an army. Does it look like this man has an army? Let's pull up this guy. The enemy and the adversary. Does this guy look like he has an actual army? Right? No. Who else? Where's this guy at, man? Right? Does this guy look like he has an army in heaven? No, the Most High's not dealing with this guy. This guy, man. Right? He's not dealing with Goldilocks. The true, it's lucky. The true King Yahweh has an actual army, and that army is led by Michael the Archangel, right? Michael the Archangel, right? Bear with me. Let's read on. It reads Revelation chapter 19 and verse 14. And the armies which are in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. And he shall rule them with the rod of iron, and treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Almighty God. So he's coming with military might. This is not Christianity, where he's coming back to hold everybody's hand. He's coming back with to do a chorus, a sing-along, and hand out cupcakes and play Monopoly with you, man. And take you to the barber shop, and then it's not that kind of deal. The Most High's coming back angry. He sent his son back with fierce wrath. Is it not written, behold, the Lord coming with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire? For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. Now these armies in the Middle East, let's pull up these. Let's see if they actually got a picture, right? Let's pull this up. These armies that are going to be out there, they're going to be in for a rude awakening. Look at this. Who will fight in the battle of Armageddon? We know who's going to fight in the battle of Armageddon, right? And this is how it's going to look, man. When Yahweh shall return with this fire, this guy is going to be destroyed, right? That's what you call your lake of fire. Your lake of fire is not really just it's not a place under the earth where people burn for eternity. The lake of fire is really when Yahweh shall returns and wipes out the earth with fire and brimstone. All right, that's what it's really going into. When Yahweh shall shoot the lasers and the fire from the chariots, and it causes so much explosions and destructive forces that it actually resembles a lake of fire from an aerial view. All right, so they're asking who's going to fight Armageddon, right? Well, we know we don't have to read this article and ask the so-called white man who's going to fight. We're covering it. We're covering the military alliances that are going to be in that region, and now we're going into Yahweh Shah's army and the weapons that Yahweh Shah has. Right? Let's go back to this. Let's go to 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Right? In verse 1. 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 1. And it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the waves thereof. Salakia, what did I do? What's going on? This is madness. I don't get back. Okay, Khan. It reads, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. When he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. And Yahweh Shah is coming in the fathership. He's not coming in the little shuttle ship, right? Like a little, handheld. No, he's coming in a huge fathership, right? That's what the world calls a mothership. Pull this up. So Yahweh Shah is coming in. See if we get a good picture. Something like this, man. You see that? Now, how come they don't teach that in the Christian church? Go ask your pastor. Print, after the Shabbat, print this picture out, man. And go back to your pastor and tell him Jesus Christ is coming back in this spaceship. And they'll kick you out the church. They might rob you, man, first. They might ask you, well, where the hell did you get this from? How come nobody's talking about the chariot invasion of Yahweh Shah and Armageddon? Now, this is your central command center right here, right? Where Yahweh Shah is going to be at fighting, that's the central command center or the mission control room. That's what they call it. In war, they call it the mission control room, or they call it the central command center. Because inside of the fathership is where Yahweh Shah is going to give orders to angels onto you're going to destroy Russia. Okay, I want you to save the elect in America. Okay, I want you to save that brother over there in the islands. Okay, I want you to destroy Japan right here. So in the central command center, he's going to give it through he's not going to have a walkie-talkie. Okay? He's not going to have he don't need a walkie-talkie. He's not going to need an intercom system. It's all through the spirit. Remember, the Lord operates through the spirit. These chariots move by the angels. All right? Well, you're going to say, well, what if his battery dies? What if Yahweh Shah's battery dies and with his walkie-talkie? How's he going to tell Michael what the? Well, we're not worried about that. We're not even thinking about that, man. He's not going to need that. Well, are you sure? Because how are they going to talk? Because they're going to be so far away, and the EMP attack is going to break the signal, and nobody. Well, Yahweh Shah is coming from the third heaven. All right, he doesn't need this technology of man. Right? This is Habakkuk. It's like Ezekiel. I want to show you something about the chariots. And let's see. Yep, and the angels, right? This is Ezekiel chapter 1 and verse 19. So Ezekiel saw the chariots and the angels. He had a vision. That's why most scholars will call Ezekiel's vision. They will call it Ezekiel's will when he saw the chariots, right? They would actually call it Ezekiel's will. It reads, Ezekiel 1 and 19. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Meaning wherever the angel go, that's where the chariot goes. They don't have a battery operated type of vehicle, right? They don't have that little that thing you had when you was a kid, the remote control, and you got your little race car and your car can go fast, or you got the little button. They don't have that, man. I think they call it like an RC hand controller. They don't operate like that. The chariot is really a spirit when you really think about it. All right. It's not made by earthly elements. It's made by the spirit. That's why you have to have a spiritual body to be inside that thing. Because it's not made of the earth. It's not made of aluminum and titanium and steel and copper. Right? It's made of celestial things. So the spirit of that chariot is going to be governed by the spirit of that angel. All right. So Yahweh Shah is going to directly communicate through the spirit to the angel in the chariot on what they're going to do and how they're going to move from that central command center, right? From the heavenly fathers directly dealing with Yahweh Shah. Now, I'm just using that word central command center for lack of better terms, right? Right? I'm just throwing that out there, but that is the head, because that's the headquarters. All orders going to be given out by the general, by Yahweh Shah. My brother might say, well, I don't see central command center or mission control room in the Bible. Well, it's not there, right? But we're just making a point of that's going to be the starting point of where the orders are going to be given out. All right? Let me read this again. Ezekiel chapter 1 and 19. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. Whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go. And the wheels, meaning the chariots, they were called wheels due to their spinning motion, like a wheel. And the wheels were lifted up over against them. Why? It says, well, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. You see that? The spirit of the angel is inside of the wheels. That's how they move. When those went, these went. Meaning if the angel went right, the chariot went right. If the angel went up, the chariot went up. Where those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. Why? Again, for the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. So when Yahweh Shah returns, where's that so-called fathership? When he returns with the huge fathership, he's going to have other chariots that come out from that region or from that chariot, and other ones that are going to come with him. Now, Michael the archangel, he's going to have his own chariot too. Because Michael the archangel, he's going to be the one leading the aerial battle. Right? Because when you're in the battle, you have a lot going on. Right? That's why it's good to study warfare and see military formations and battle strategies. Right? You have people that flank you in, people that do a pseudo retreat, and they'll act like they're retreating to lead you into a bigger army. There's a lot that goes on. You may have your cavalry at the flanks, and you'll send them out to come back in and get them from behind. You have ambushes. You have a lot that goes on. So in Armageddon, you're going to have an aerial battle, right? And you're also going to have Yahweh Shah and the angels destroying these nations that are going to be really on the ground and on the earth and in other parts. That's why Revelation chapter 12 speaks about Michael the archangel, right? This Revelation chapter 12 and 7. And there was war in heaven. You see that? Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. So Michael's order is going to be a little bit different than somebody else's order. Because remember, every angel is part of the Most High's army. Another title for the Most High is the Lord of Hosts or the Lord of Sabaoth. Let me get that in the book of James. Right? Let's see. I may have to open up another blue letter. Lose those precepts. When the Lord of Hosts is really the Lord of Armies. I want to get that in James chapter 5. That your cries have entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Right? That means the Lord of the armies. It's not talking about the Lord of the Sabbath, the Lord of the Shabbat. Right? It's speaking about Yahweh Shah's or Yahweh Bashmi Yahweh Shah's armies. See that? Here's the word right here in the Greek. Sabaoth. It means, that's the Greek word, right? Lord of the armies of Israel. As those who are under the leadership and protection of Yahweh maintain his cause in war. So another name for the Lord is that he's the Lord of the armies of Israel. So there's an army in the earth, meaning the Israelites, and there's also an army in the third heaven. That's what we read in Revelation 19, that he's coming with his armies. Remember, we're a warlike people. We have the Most High. He's a man of war. He has an armory. He creates smiths. His angels are soldiers. He is a mighty king and a mighty general. And everything maintains his cause in war. So these angels are part of his army. Now, if you've been in the army or the military, everybody doesn't have the same role. Right? You have many branches of the military. You got your Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines, Space Force. You got branches. And then even in the Army, you have different responsibilities. You have some guys in the Army, they're like medical doctors, right? You have some guys that deal with the technology, right? And they make sure everybody got all of the technology and the service is good and all of that, man. Then you got certain people that actually are just foot soldiers, right? So certain angels, once this war kicks off, their job is going to be on a rescue mission. All right. In Armageddon, certain angels are going to be sent on a rescue mission. Who are they going to rescue? The elect. They're not going to fight. Their job is, hey, look, go deliver that brother from LA. And go deliver that sister, and she up there in Chicago. Go get that brother from Jamaica. Right? Go get that family out there in Haiti, right? With the fringes on in the border of blue. And all of those angels are going to follow that command, right? Let's get that in the book of our Psalms. So there's a lot that's going to be going on in Armageddon, right? This is Psalm chapter 50 and verse 1. The mighty God, even the Lord, hath spoken and called the earth from the rising of the sun to the going down thereof. Out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, the Most High hath shined. Our God shall come. Now, David actually saw a vision of Yahweh Shah's second coming. And he's giving you the account of what he saw. Our God shall come and shall not keep silence. A fire shall devour before him, and this shall be very tempestuous or tempestuous round about him. And he's coming with that thermonuclear destruction and them lasers. He shall call to the heavens from above and to the earth, that he may judge his people. Now here's what Yahweh Shah said. Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So he's going to tell the angels that. He's going to tell them, gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice. So certain angels, they're going to be sent to gather the saints. Certain chairs are going to be sent out strictly to extract and beam up people. And then other angels, they're going to have the decree to fight war in heaven. All right, let's get that back in Revelation 12. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought his angels. You see that? Now, the dragon is the so-called white man, right? He is that serpent, that devil, or the old serpent called the devil and Satan. All right. Now, it's not speaking about actual demons. Now, on a deeper level, you do have spiritual battles that happen behind the scenes. You can read about that in the book of Daniel, the 10th chapter, where you had the prince of the Persians fighting against Michael and the other angels, right? Let me get that in Daniel chapter 10. So that happens on a particular level, but that's not really what Revelation 12 is going into. Right? This is Daniel chapter 10 and 20. Here's what the angel told Daniel. Then said he, knowest thou therefore knowest thou wherefore I come unto thee? And now will I return to fight with the prince of Persia. When I am going forth, lo, the prince of Greece shall come. That's what the angel told Daniel. So there are spiritual battles that do happen behind the scenes where these demons are cast out, these principalities. And these powers that govern these other nations, they will be cast out, right? Because there are spiritual forces that run this world that have to be cast out as well and be removed from authority. The demons that are set up, right? That actually happens. This is a real account of an angel telling Daniel, hey, look, there are demonic forces that are running and ruling and operating the Persian Empire. I have been sent to remove those spiritual powers from authority that the Greeks can come into power, right? And then what happened when the Greeks were in power? There were other spiritual forces that fueled the Greek Empire to be a hasty kingdom of power. Then the Most High removed those spiritual powers and put the Romans in power, right? But I will show thee that which is noted in the scripture of truth. And there is none that holdeth with me in these things, but who? But Michael, your prince. So Michael knows about these spiritual battles that happens behind the scenes. He knows about that, man. That there is a high level of spiritual battles that are going on that you don't even know about. Right? You're going to have demons to try to get you in those days, man. But the Lord said, the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear him and deliver them. So there's an angel ready encamping about you, looking around, slicing up these demons. So Armageddon is going to be a big deal, man. Yeah, it's going to be a physical battle. Okay, you're going to have tanks, you're going to have Yahweh Shai, but remember, these spiritual forces, they got to get removed from power too. You know? And Satan has to be cast out, that Yahweh Shai may be exalted. Remember, this is his kingdom. Let's get that in Matthew chapter 12. Right? St. Matthew chapter 12 and 25. And Yahweh Shai knew their thoughts and said unto them, Slakia, see how much time I got. All right. Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? So Satan has a kingdom, right? And this is really talking about Satan, the spiritual demon. He has a kingdom. This is his world. He is called the God of this world in 2 Corinthians chapter 4:3 on down. This is his world and his kingdom. So he has to get removed too. All right. So that's going to be happening on a spiritual level of Satan being removed. But also Michael the archangel is physically going to be removing the armies that are in heaven. Right? What are the armies that are in heaven? Esau's fighter jets. right? His drones. Let me see this real quick. Let's see. American fighter jets. Let's see what they got. Right, these are Esau's armies in heaven. Right, so that's aerial battle, warplanes, fighter jets, bombers, drones. They're going to be used to fight against Yahushua. Right, here's Esau's fighter jets and fighter drones. Right, we'll play this quick clip. Let's see. Right, bear with me. I'm going to play this quick clip. Just to show what Michael the Archangel is going to be fighting. Because we got to see it. What is he up against?
Fighter jets have symbolized aerial superiority since World War II. Germany built the first fighter aircraft in the world, but the Cold War standoff between USSR and USA led to the extraordinary advancement of fighter jet technology, generating iconic machines that still serve today. American fighter jets serve more than just America, with allies across the world flying the incredible machines the American aerospace industry creates. Today, let's take a look on how American fighter jets evolved. 1942 Bell P-59 Aero Comet. The P-59 Aero Comet was made by Bell Aircraft, which was given the job of making the first American fighter jet.
See, they jet, I mean, even though this is old, that says what? 413 miles per hour. I mean, that's not even, you can't even max the speed or cap the speed of a chariot. 413 miles per hour is fast, but it ain't nothing compared to Michael the Archangel. Right? See this right here, this vehicle right here that we're looking at. I mean, this is the chariot was created way before Esau even created these things. This is older than Esau's newest technology, and it supersedes Esau's technology. See, the Most High saved the best for us, man. Right? He gave us these vehicles and these weapons from the third heaven. I want to kind of fast forward to see his fastest jet.
106 was the next step. Eagle took its first flight in 1972. Air Combat had changed. Took its first flight in 1990. Of making it limited its use.
Let's see.
The powerful Raptor was only used in combat for the first time in 2014, 17 years after it first flew. 2000.
So they're saying that thing can go 1,500 miles per hour. Right? 1,500 miles per hour. So, you know, Esau thinks he got something going on. Then he got something that can go, okay, 1,200 miles per hour. The F-35, F-22s, right? You can kind of throw these names in there when you're breaking that revelation down, right? Yeah, the Most High is going to fight against Esau's F-22s, his F-35s, Super Hornets, Fighting Falcons, right? These are the weapons that he has at his disposal.
With Fiverr, you can hire top-rated.
And that's what Michael the Archangel is going to do. Salakia. Pull this up. All right, when he returns. So let me read this one more time. Revelation chapter 12 and 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. So they were cast down to the earth, right? Literally. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Right? 2nd Ezra chapter 13 and 4. And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth the fire. Right? And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. So when Yahweh Shah returns in Armageddon, you're going to have an inestimable amount of men to try to fight against the Lord. And I can see it now, right? I can see all of these nations talking to each other, right? Saying, we got to stop what we're doing, right? And they're going to aim those missiles all at Yahweh Shai. And some of these elites may call and say, hey, look, that's Yahweh Shai. Take them out. Cut them down. They might say, show him no mercy. Yeah, we know he's our creator, but show him no mercy. And they're going to try to subdue the man that came out of the sea. When it says the sea, is not talking about the ocean. It's talking about the heavens. The word heaven in the Hebrew is mayim, which means waters. Speaking about the Lord coming from the heavens. But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not. So Ezra saw Yahweh Shah flying upon a great mountain. He flew with it. Is that talking about an actual mountain? No. But the chariot was so large, the spaceship was so large, Ezra thought it was an actual mountain. So I'm led to believe it had to have been bigger than this. Right? Would have had to have been. You give me the same nasty picture. Right? Hold on. See that? Maybe, but he had a ship that had to have been almost like the size of a city. He called it an actual mountain. That's what Yahweh Shah is coming back with. Let's read on. But I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not. So Ezra was looking around because he thought there was an actual mountain missing from the earth. But it wasn't. It was just a huge, massive size of Yahweh Shah's fathership. Let's go to Psalm chapter 18. And Esau don't have nothing like that. I mean, his biggest thing, he got a blimp. The Lord is not dealing with Esau's blimp, right? Let's go to Psalms. That's what I want. Chapter 18, right? This is Psalm chapter 18 and verse 9. So this links directly up with Psalms 50, Habakkuk 3, Isaiah 66, 15 or down, Isaiah chapter 63, Revelation 19. A lot of our fathers saw the same vision, forefathers saw the same vision, but they wrote it down, in different ways. So David actually saw Yahweh Shah's return too. It's written right here in 2 Samuel 22 and Psalms 18. It's like Psalms chapter 18 and verse 8. There went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire came out of his mouth devoured. Coals were kindled by it. So when it says out of his mouth, it's speaking about that cavity, right? And a cavity is like a hole within that chariot, right? So we get this is the mouth of the chariot. Let's get a picture right here. Here's a good picture. Now this right here, where that light is coming from, that's the mouth. Because the mouth is nothing but an opening, right? Or a hole, for lack of better terms. Remember, Habakkuk said there was the hiding of his power. Then David said out of his mouth came forth fire. Because that's where that laser, that's the power source. Yahweh Shah's not going to open up his mouth to shoot actual fire. It's not what it's talking about. All right. It reads, he bowed the heavens also and came down, and darkness was under his feet. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. See, that's what Yahweh Shah is going to be flying upon the wings of the wind, meaning a chariot. That's why in 2 Ezra 13, it says he flew up upon a great mountain. He's flying inside of this chariot, this vehicle. 2 Ezra chapter 13 and 8. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet there's fight. So they're really not going to want to fight against Yahushua, but the Most High is going to tap into their control system, right? Because I think they call it the cockpit. If you look up a fighter jet cockpit, this is what controls the motions of the jet. Now, Yahushua said that they were sore afraid, and yet there's fight. So they're going to be afraid, but the Most High is going to hack into their cockpit and make them turn their will to actually go fight against them. And they're going to want to not do it, but they're going to lose control over their jet. And they want to take their jet right, but their jet is going to go left. And they're going to be driving towards Yahushua, and they're going to be screaming because they don't want to go, but the Lord says he's going to make them do it. Then they're going to get destroyed by fires and lasers, man. Right? 2nd Ezra chapter 13. Again, all they were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet there's fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempest, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and felt violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up, every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. So he actually saw the battle of Armageddon reach its climax, and saw Yahushua send out the lasers and the fire and brimstone on NATO, on Russia, Iran, America, the Arab nations, and all of those bodies are going to be evaporated, or it's like vaporized. That's the word I'm looking for. They're going to be vaporized. What's the word vaporize mean? Right? Vaporize, to convert into vapor. Right? Straight up, man. Right? That's why he said he only saw dust and he heard smoke or smelled smoke. Right? Let's see, vaporize. See that? To convert as by the application of heat. What is that heat? Or the fire that Yahushua is coming with. It's going to turn people into vapor. Right? To destroy as if by converting into vapor. The Most High is going to vaporize plenty of people, man. Right? That's what Yahushua is coming with. So Armageddon, again, is the final battle between the forces of these other nations and their armies, the CSTO, NATO, the Peninsula Shield Force, and other military alliances. And they're going to stop that battle they have amongst each other and that so-called Middle East. And they're going to fight against Yahushua and Yahushua's army, man. And the elect are going to be delivered, and Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua's name will be magnified on the earth. But with that, I'm going to close up, giving, of course, all honor and all glory to Yahweh. Ba'Shem Mashiach Malak Yahushai. Keep the Sabbath holy. No buying on the Sabbath, no work, no cooking, no cleaning, no sex on the Sabbath, no speaking your own words, doing your own pleasures. Keep this day holy. Stay in the spirit. Stay diligent and zealous for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. With that, Most High willing, you are edified. Kwam Yashalom. Shalom.